right.
You think you're going to get away with not combing your hair and just wearing that hat?
Welcome to the Bolts Block Party, our season finale of the live show here at the Cigar City Tap Room. Thanks to our friends at Highlight IPA. Are you guys excited? I mean, Coach Cooper is here. I mean, we started the season big with JBB, and then Hetty, and then we had Nikki Paul, Steven Stamkos, Brendan Hagel. So we said we got to go big or go home to wrap up the finale. So Coach Coop, thank you so much for taking the time out here. Before we get into the show today, I was told to give you this dry cleaning bill from Paul Kennedy and said you would take care of it. Do you want to tell us what happened to Paul Kennedy the other day and what you might have done to him?
First of all, I was saying no to this podcast, but my twin girls over there, Julie and Josephine, they're like, no, you got to go. It's Braydon Coburn. We have to go.
Thank you.
So I'm like,
Thank you, girls.
Wolfie, not so much.
So I know where to go to ask.
This is.
I tell the guys I know where to go to ask for more ice time, you know? Right there.
Exactly. So this actually just happened.
Yeah. So what happened?
So basically, we were pregame skating, not last game, the game before, and Paul Kennedy was in the Zamboni door. And so I was just whipping around. And a lot of times, if people are there, if I kind of know them, I'll throw a puck at them. You know, not just, it's like a flyby.
Right.
Like kind of what the airplanes do.
Sure.
So this time, though, so I didn't play in the NHL. I can shoot it decently, but not the way Kobe and the boys can shoot it. Well, Paul Kennedy's sitting there with a coffee, doesn't even see me. He's got this really sweet, like pink, like awesome
cardigan,
sweater on. It's sick. And whatever happened, every potential awesome skill in my body came out at that one moment, and I zinged it. Like it was
just a laser beam.
It was a Kucherov special. And I'm like, oh my God. And it goes right between the eyes, but it's the glass. And sure enough, you know, Paul, and then it went like this.
Coffee
and
everywhere.
Like, oh my God. I was so rattled. I don't usually get rattled. I was like, I'm sorry, cleaning bill. So this is actually good.
Yeah,
I
no
deserved
worries.
it.
We'll take care of that for you.
And the third-degree burns. I'm melting.
Don't say bad things about me, Paul.
No, he won't, man. Now that you guys also know that Coach Cooper is here, I know you guys have cards on your table, so please take the time to fill those out. If you have any questions, we'll get to those at the end of the show before we do our Fact or Fiction segment, which, are you aware of the Fact or Fiction segment?
I am not.
Okay, well, you will find out shortly. Were you aware at all of the Bolts block?
Hold on, does everybody... Do we serve drinks and stuff to these people?
Do you need a drink?
No, do they get
drinks?
they
get food, drinks, they hold the whole nine. That's the
whole thing, like on the house?
No, I mean, they have to take, no, I wish it was that simple. No, I mean, they had to reserve their spot.
All right, right now, order in the next 15 minutes, the drink's on me. Go ahead.
Oh.
Anything you want.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Going big or go home. So, if you're
only one guy got up. I can't believe this. Like, let's go. There we go.
You guys are smart.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep the bill. I'll give it to Paul Kennedy.
I think I just saw my son Blair. He's got a beer up there.
All right, now this is Bolts Nation. Now we're good.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you hear about the Bolts Block Party bump this season?
Ooh, I don't think I have.
So basically, I don't know who started the trend. But for a while there, when your guys would come on the show, if they were in a scoring slump or they hadn't gotten any points, they would come on the block party, and the very next game they would score a goal, contribute to a win. It happened almost 10, 11 times in a row. So good for you tonight that you're here, because that means tomorrow we're going to have a victory.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, the mojo's with us right now, Coop.
I like that. We need that.
So just want to make sure you knew about that. So, Coop, Kobe and I were talking earlier because you have a pretty cool backstory of your involvement as an athlete to your graduation into a coach. Stud lacrosse player at Hofstra. You were a 99-pointer there. I got 74 goals, 25 helpers, champion junior and senior year before you went on to law school over there at Cooley Law in Michigan. And you played hockey there as well, but where did the transition for you start from being such a lacrosse stud to wanting to migrate to hockey?
4 years of college, and I ended up with the same amount of points as Nikita Kucherov has assists this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison.
Yeah. What was your question?
So, no, I just wanted to know where you went from lacrosse and then the love for hockey kind of came in.
Okay. I'll try and speed through this.
Sure.
Western Canadian. Kobe and I are from sort of similar.
Sasky boys.
Kinda. Well, not really, but at least
the same place.
We're both. Yeah, we ended up in the same place, and we're Western. We're considered Western Canadians. Yeah. So anyway, I grew up playing hockey in a small town called Prince George. I was pretty good in my town. So then I was like, you know what? I want to go like really play hockey. So I went to a school called Notre Dame in Wilcox, Saskatchewan.
Yep.
It was in the middle of nowhere. It had one. I don't think it had. Did it have a stoplight back then?
It never did.
It didn't have a stoplight.
Still doesn't.
And anyway, it was a tiny town in the middle of the prairies. And when I went there, that's when I found out, oh man, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Okay.
Because there was a bunch of Braydon Coburns there. And so a lot of great hockey, but it was a phenomenal experience for me. I went on. I was fortunate enough. I was a decent lacrosse player, so I went and played in college at Hofstra University. But my love was always hockey, and I remember, I used to be, being from British Columbia. The Vancouver Canucks were kind of our hometown, and I remember in 1994 they were in the Stanley Cup final against the New York Rangers, and it was Game 7, and I was like living and dying for the Canucks, and I was living right in New York City. At the time I was working for Prudential Securities. It was after college, and it was just a crusher when the Rangers ended up winning, and so anyway. But my love for hockey had never gone away, and after college I went and played on the club hockey team at Hofstra. And anyway, the reason I went to law school was because I was going to become a player agent. And that was my whole goal in everything until, I'm assuming we're going to get farther into this.
No, we will, yeah, for sure.
So that's why I went to law school. That's why I left New York City. And then there's a progression of how it's led me to here today.
Is that the first time you thought about coaching kind of after law school? Or when you were coming up, did you ever think about coaching as a youth hockey player or at Notre Dame or anything like that? Or did you coach lacrosse? Or?
So there's some irony in that, because I did. And so I coached. My brother's 2.5 years younger than me. When he was coming up, and I got a little older, I would help coach his team and stuff like that in lacrosse. But the weird thing is, my mom, she would say, if people would ask her, what did you think your son was going to be? And this was young. She's like, I actually thought he was always going to be a teacher.
Interesting.
And so growing up, and it was always stuck with me, and I was like, wow, in a way I ended up becoming a teacher, just in a different way. So it was, she was
I mean, but you've had success at every single level. From when you were at Lansing Catholic High School, you led them to a championship, the first in 25 years, moving to the North American Hockey League, the USHL, the Norfolk Admirals, the Syracuse Crunch, Tampa Bay Lightning. You've literally had success at every level, and that doesn't just happen. So how do you develop your coaching style and maybe some of those inspirations at an early age as a coach? Who helped you along the way? Because again, I feel like you're born with it, and it seems like you were born with that, and that trait has grown and developed over the years. But who were some of your inspirations, and where did you find that success over the years?
Well, my wife, she just sums it up quick when people are saying, hey, Jess, how's your husband have so much success? She's like, 3 things. He's got a loyal dog, an understanding wife, and one hell of a goalie.
Bank that.
That's how Jon Cooper's won so much. It's called Ben Bishop and Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
But no, along the way, been pretty blessed to come into some great situations. But in the end, it's all, and I think this is just in life, it's all about communication, and it's all about being a good person, and it's all about being good to other people. It's all about the cliches of treating people how you'd like to be treated. It's the respect of others. It's opening the door for others. It is so many little things that add up to one big thing, but it is the basics. And I don't think you have to sit here and have to, split the atom to be like, oh my God, he's got to be the smartest NHL coach ever. That's not true. There's probably plenty of coaches out there that maybe see it a little bit better or see it a little different than I. I've always had a decent gut. My instincts have always been probably nails, which has helped me along the way. But it's all about communication and being, understanding people. And that's the biggest thing for me, is getting behind the glass, the wall of the person, finding out about them, what makes them tick. And then, in the end, you can do it in any sport. And that's probably what's helped me the most.
So, Coop, going back to like the Jon Cooper coaching high school hockey, that coaching style, how does that differ from how you coach now, and maybe the progression that we saw along the way?
So, actually, it's a hell of a question, Kobe, and this is probably one of the things that maybe hurt me in 2015 when we went to the Stanley Cup final. So, coming along in coaching high school, and did you guys ever hear how the story I got into coaching? Has anybody heard that? Some people must have. It was basically, I was a starving lawyer. I needed a job.
Right.
I was playing men's league hockey. There was a judge playing. His kid was in high school hockey team. He was going into his grade 12 year or senior year, and the coach left. And he was starving for a coach, and he said, will you come coach my kid's hockey team? And I was like, well, if my resume goes to the top, then I'll come play. And that's exactly how it happened.
Nice.
13 years later, I was in the NHL. It was
There you
weird.
go.
Yeah. But
Crazy journey.
to answer Kobe's question, so I did everything by myself because back then, like I wasn't paid. My first 4 coaching jobs, I was never paid. Got maybe a little gas money. You did it just for the love of things. And that's what I think probably helped me in coaching because I just did it because I loved it. And, there was a time when I was practicing law, it's like 60 hours a week and coaching 10, where a couple years later I was like coaching 60 hours a week and I was practicing law 10. Someone's like, ooh, I got to figure this, how I get paid for this. But it is you have to do everything yourself when you're coming up. Even as far as Norfolk Admirals, so this is the American Hockey League, second best league in the world, it was just myself and one assistant coach. That was it. There was nobody else, no video guy, nothing. And so Brian Garlock, who's now with us at Thanksgiving that year, I'm like, wow, like we need to get better. We need to bring in some people, some help. So I always was trained to do everything myself, did all the meetings myself, did all the prep myself, and it was extremely taxing. If you want to have success in this league, you can't do it that way. And when whatever, if people say Jon Cooper was a good coach, I became a great coach when I hired great people and I delegated. And then when you throw trust and you throw communication out there, I guarantee you, it is technically, we do everything together. But this is the most I've ever stood back in my life. And that's when we started winning cups because you keep everybody involved. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned is, hey, it's just not you, it's us. And when you have to find the right people naturally. But when I found this group of people that we have now, it's been the easiest job of my life. They make life so much easier. And then at times, I think Alex Killorn put it, he put it away with describing me. He's like, well, Coop ends up becoming like a CEO. And he's just kind of navigating everybody, keeping everybody together. And yes, do I make the big decisions in the end? I do. But it's not without the help of everybody around me, and that's why we've had so much success.
So you mentioned one of your long-time assistant coaches, and then he would probably get really mad at me about asking this question, but your history with Brian Garlock, I just think it's so unique, so interesting. I was just wondering if you could kind of tell that story and elaborate on that.
All right, but are we sponsored by somebody here?
Highlight.
All right.
IPA.
Somebody,
you need a cold
somebody
one?
grab
What do you want?
Brian, can I have a highlight, please?
Please, get the man a highlight razor.
All right, so Brian Garlock. All right, so I'm coaching in Texarkana, Texas. That was when I made my jump to say I'm giving up law and I'm going to move to Texarkana, Texas. It doesn't have a hockey team. We're going to start hockey with these 16 to 20-year-olds where I got to coach. That's when I brought in none other than Pat Maroon. And one of my favorites. And so when we did, they would never had ice down there. So summer we'd have to have training camps places. So I knew a bunch of the guys in college, and Bob Daniels was at Ferris State University. And ironically, Jeff Blashill, who's our assistant coach, his brother Tim, ran the whole facility there. So we would go, I said, screw it, let's go up there for the summer. We'd go to these different colleges and try and recruit kids. But we'd have our training camp there. So we came there, and then we needed, people. We didn't have cars or anything, so people to drive us around. Brian Garlock ends up being he's my driver. And so when we want to go somewhere, he drives me here, go somewhere else, drive me here, go to a restaurant, drive me here, and I loved him. And so anyway, I kept his number, and it was like, hey, down the road or whatever, and he's like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, what do you do? And he goes, well, I kind of sharpen skates here, and I work at a furniture store. And I'm like, okay. So a year later, our team moved from Texarkana to St. Louis. We didn't bring any of the staff with us. And I was jumping on a plane to go coach a team in Europe for a week-long tournament. And I called this kid, Brian. I was like, do you remember me? He's like, of course. And I said, well, I'm leaving for 10 days. Here's the job. Come be my equipment manager. Come do this. Got to move to St. Louis. I'll look after all this. I'll be back in 10 days. Call me. Because back then, cell phones, and didn't have near enough. What is this called? Space? Yeah. So data. Anyway, 10 days later, I came back. Phone rang right when I landed, and he says, I'm in. And coincidentally, the next 2 years, we won 2 national championships in Tier 2, Junior A. 1 in the USHL 2 years later, so that was 3 and 4, and then won the Calder Cup 2 years after that. So we won 4 and 6 years with Brian Garlock. And now he's here. So he's my little secret gem.
It's a pretty cool story, to be honest with you. So there you go. Look at that. And Kobe's son delivering it to you. It's like we planned it. It's exactly.
Wow, you really do want some ice time.
He might have took a couple sips of it just to give you a quick warning.
Let's fast forward, Coop, to what a crazy season this has been. Obviously, to start the season, Vazzy's hurt. We lose Sergachev. How much, obviously, we have been spoiled here as Lightning fans for the last decade with how much winning we've gotten. It's not really how we get there to the playoffs. It's a matter of if we get there. Now we're 7 straight, and it was a kind of a non-traditional way we got there this year with, again, the injuries that we've had. But when we get to the trade deadline and JBB is looking at guys like Duclair and Dumba, how much of your involvement and input are you having at those times with JBB? I mean, are you fully engaged with it, or you're letting those guys handle it and you're kind of like, putting your 2 cents in there?
The big reason why it works is because we all are one big team.
Sure.
And and Julian, this is what's great about Julian, we were together in the minors. And so in Norfolk, when we built this powerful team, he would come to me, say, what do you need? I would say, I need this, this, this. And he'd say, okay. And then he would just go find it. And sometimes it was at the price of some really good people ended up getting traded. But
sure.
It was for the best of what we needed to do as an organization, and we ended up winning. So we had a little bit of a track record together. And then when Steve came in, Steve was no different. And we would sit and talk about what was needed.
Yep.
Like, what did we need? And Kobe was one of those guys that it was awful tough because, I went to Radko Gudas's wedding. That's how close it was. But, at the time, you're like, okay, what is going to help us try and win a Stanley Cup was to go get guys like Kobe. And we ended up falling 2 games short, but we went damn close. And but it's all about communication. And one of the biggest ones all these have gone down from getting Ryan McDonough and all these other things. But like a Ryan McDonough trade's a little different. And we need to get guys that we've got all this top shelf liquor. We need the well stuff to help us get over the top. And so, who's on the ice at the end of the game when we're about to win the Stanley Cup? Barclay Goodrow, Blake Coleman, Yanni Gourde. These are the guys. The other guys got us the lead, but these guys protected the lead, and those are the guys you needed. And so that's where I think we're very fortunate having Julian as our GM.
I can't wait to tell those guys they're the Moonshine Boys. I love that. So it's Coop. It's one thing to bring these guys in, and you've done a great job of this, and I can attest to this as well. But what about integrating those guys into the locker room? What do you say to those guys? Whose responsibility does that fall on to make sure those guys get on the right page and feel like they're part of the team?
So it's a collaboration, and what happens for the regular before this year. So I'm going to go divide this into past and this year. Normally, I've gone and picked guys like when Ryan Callahan got traded here. I went to the airport and picked him up. I do those things like that. There's about showing you care. But in the end, your assistant coaches talk about the systems. I'd sit there, like, we've got a staff that says, okay, this is where you can potentially live. We have so many good support people that just make it easy. So everybody can think about hockey and not the mere fact that, you know, my wife's pregnant. I got to move her down here. Like, we've traded for so many guys whose wives are pregnant right in the trade.
Stressful, I know.
All right, we got to do some homework. It's like a stress. Everybody's like, well, why aren't they scoring? I'm like, oh, they've already scored at home.
Right.
Now they got a lot to go on.
And what about best friends? You know, you guys traded for best friends this year. You didn't even know.
So this is the weird thing. Okay, so everybody comes in, they take a few steps back. Everybody's really respectful. Like Stammer, Hetty, all those guys are phenomenal. They really help out the leadership group. So we're kind of an easy team to go to because we're pretty light. We have likable guys, but everybody doesn't do anything. Well, we get Duclair and Dumba, and unfortunately, the locker room and the coach's room are super close. And unfortunately, these guys blare the music so loud. Yeah.
We heard last week.
We're like, by the time the game. But this year has been pretty decent. You know, we get a little country, like Mikey Isamont, he's been running it. And you kind of tell him, like, what you want. And I'm like, we got some great tunes coming in. I'm telling you, that first day that Dumba and Duclair came in.
They hijacked it.
That was it.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't know the music they got going now. It's
Afrobeat.
It's eventful.
That's what it's called.
Is what it is.
Just letting you know. We had them on last week.
Well, whatever it was, it sparked a nice little winning streak right after the trade deadline there.
It just happened. So I walk in the locker room, and this kind of song went on, and Dumba's sitting right here. This is probably not a story to not get a great effect, but he's sitting right there, and I'm looking at him, and this song comes on. It's just a beat, no lyrics.
Yeah.
And Duclair's right here, and I'm looking at Dumba, and there's that uncomfortable, like, Dumba's the only one that knows I'm not looking at him, but everybody is, and they're like waiting for Dumba to look, and then finally Duclair's like, Dumba, and he's looking at me, and he's just like this. So then I think he's going to say, what, you don't like the music? And we're just going, and it's a long pause, and then all of a sudden the lyrics come out, and he just starts jamming. And he starts wheeling around and like doing the whole song, and I'm like, oh my God, he doesn't even care. And I walked away. That was it. They own
awesome.
me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, have you ever stopped to think about how much greatness you really have developed over your time here when you're talking about names like Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky, Point? These are all future Hall of Famers, yourself included. Have you ever stopped to really think about the greatness that you've been a part of?
No, because I don't think we're near done. And I think that's time for retirement.
That is a great answer. Great answer.
These players, I do marvel at them, honestly, but they're gonna hate us. They're like my kids. So I marvel at you guys. Love you. But sometimes you piss me off. And so it's and that's what these kids are. But to watch the development of, like, you take a Steven Stamkos, and he was just this like young sharpshooter, no care in the world. He was playing with Marty St. Louis and Vinny LeCavalier and Brad Richard, or no, not Richie then, but all these guys, and he's scoring goals. And to watch him, like, he really wasn't like the leader back then. He just deferred to Marty and did all these things. And to watch his growth, you know, girlfriend, husband, father, Stanley Cup champion, like the guy that's kind of, you know, he's just the glue back there. And it's like, that's the cool part of this whole journey. And I've got the same story for Nikita Kucherov, you know, how we've butted heads, and now he's a son to me. That's how much passion and care I have for that kid. And to watch these guys all grow. In saying that, I'm just a small piece of this. And for as much as I've helped them grow, they've probably done it double for me. And so I thank these guys every day for what they do, and just being a part of, you know, to be able to coach like generational talent has been pretty sweet.
Coop, I want to know how you coach Stammer, Hetty, you know, all the guys you mentioned. How do you coach those guys different now than you did, let's say, in 2013 when you first got hired?
Well, one of the big things is when you first come in. So I hadn't coached in the league before. And so I remember the first time I ever met with the team, and I was looking at like Marty St. Louis and Vinny, and like looking at all these veteran all-stars and saying, okay, they're looking at me saying, okay, well, what are you going to do for us? And so, again, a big thing, though, I think along the way is accountability. And that's one thing that no matter what happens, it took me a little bit of time to kind of figure that out and to put ourselves in a position where they knew that, hey, this guy respects me. He respects my talent. He's going to put me out there when I want to be out there. But if I cross the line, he's not afraid to sit me down. And that's, you know, in the end, as I've grown and had the ability to say, you know, enough is enough, I think they've grown. And one of the things, it doesn't happen that often, but it's, you know, you come into a season and the guys that play, everybody's like, can't wait to make the team. And then they make the team and you kind of set out roles for everybody. And then the guy that's playing 10 minutes, all of a sudden he wants 12 minutes. And the guy playing 12 minutes a night wants 14. But there's guys that want 20 minutes a night that want 22. And so it's one big management, but you know, they earn it. But you have, you know, holding the guys accountable, I think in the end they respect you for it. I think at times they test you to make sure you are going to do it. And that's one of the things that with those guys, that had to happen at some point in my career. And now it's just, I went from like, almost it's kind of like coach player to now we're like almost colleagues, if that makes any sense.
So I guess that accountability thing, and I'm just curious how hard this is as a coach, because from playing for you, I know this rule. If you miss a meeting, you're going to miss a game. And, you know, I've seen that, happen this year. It's happened in the past. I know you don't want to do that. You don't want to sit a good player down because they broke a team rule. But how important is that, and how hard is that to do as a coach?
It's everything. And it actually just happened in the last 10 games. So a player that didn't play a game, he missed a morning meeting, and he was like crushed. But everybody knows, like, if Nikita Kucherov missed a meeting in the biggest game of the year, Nikita Kucherov would sit. And everybody knows it. And so I think that's what keeps the order. And when they understand that we're not screwing around, then in the end, they don't screw around. And that's the big thing. And so it hurts. Like, trust me, like when you're lining up, but it's, all the guys know that's the way it is. I mean, gosh.
That's why I had 3 alarms, by the way.
Yeah. Smart, though.
Yeah, it's tough. That's why, the excuses have changed, though, a little bit now.
Oh,
I forgot my charger.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't. I guess the alarm settings is still the same, but I just can't believe when you're in a hotel that you still don't have the backup of calling the front desk.
Right. Give me a wake-up call.
Give me a wake-up call.
Yeah.
That was an automatic.
For sure. So how important, I mean, obviously we know in the NHL, individual accolades are celebrated. Obviously we know Cooch is on the cusp of the Hart Trophy, but for you as a head coach, and I still feel, and I know a lot of our fan base feel, that we still are not getting mentioned in the national spotlight. You see the commercials that come on for the NHL and the Stanley Cup. You don't see any Lightning representation. And it's a hot button with me, and it's a hot button with our fans, because I know you're not heavy on social media. But the list just came out, once again, the Jack Adams Award. And you've got Rick Tocchet, no disrespect to these coaches, Rick Tocchet, Andrew Burnett, Chris Knobloch, Peter Laviolette, John Tortorella. Great coaches. However, let's just pull out the facts real quick, and the fact that we all feel it's a travesty that you, every single season, get snubbed for it. And I'm going to back it up with facts, okay? Coop's .640 regular season win percentage is the second highest ever in the NHL for coaches with over 500 games coached, trailing only Scotty Bowman. Coop is only one of 19 NHL coaches ever to win multiple Stanley Cups. Coop became the 8th active head coach to reach the 500-win milestone following our win over the Kings on January 9th, and required the fewest games among any head coach in NHL history to do it with one team, required the 3rd fewest behind, again, Scotty Bowman and Bruce Boudreau. Who else has those type of accolades? So do you pay attention to that? Do you feel that as well? Because I just feel, and I think the sentiment with our fans, they feel it too. It's like, why is Coop getting snubbed? We don't understand it. We know it's the media that votes on those things. Why do you feel this? Your pedigree and your track record speaks for itself.
Goddamn Scotty Bowman.
You got some work to do.
Yeah.
I mean, do you pay attention to that at all? Because
well, it's hard not to, because it's brought up all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's. Do you know? There's nobody's probably old enough in here, but did anybody used to watch soap operas back in the day? Do you guys know?
Okay.
Do you guys remember a lady named Susan Lucci?
Yes.
There you go. I'm the hockey version of Susan Lucci. But no. So the one thing about some of these awards, I do believe there's a spot for the writers and the media to vote for this. I do. The problem with that is the media and the writers, like, they're really just focused on their own team. And I do truly believe if players voted, general managers, coaches, like, if we all got the votes, I think there would be a little bit of difference in how some of these things went down. You know, is there biased in the Northeast because there's just more writers there? Of course there is. Yep. And it's understandable. We need the Northeast because it makes our league popular. It really is. TV markets, the ratings are up. It's all these things. So there's like good and bad to it. But there's certain awards, and all the awards aren't voted by the same people, which is crazy. Like the GMs vote for one specific award, writers vote for one, this media group votes for another. So it's really crazy. It's just been a long history of how it's gone down. Do they get the awards right 99% of the time? They probably do. The few times that I've been nominated and stuff like that, you can't make an argument that the other guys that won shouldn't have won. Like, they honestly should have. If there was a year you could probably make an argument, would have been the 62 win when we set the NHL record. Then you're like, well, okay. But you get penalized for people sitting here saying, well, he's got a good team. And it's like, well.
Isn't that the goal?
Yeah. Like, I mean, the Edmonton Oilers have a good team, and they're already on their second coach this year.
Right.
So it's just that kind of mentality. And so the best, like, and this is the absolute truth. If I don't win the Jack Adams, I will not lose an ounce of sleep in my life.
Amen.
You know what? Because when I wake up, I see those big silver trophies standing right over front of me. And you know what? I win the Jack Adams. I don't get it to bring it to a bar and have everybody drink out of it.
That's true. Good point.
Stanley Cup, you do.
Good point.
That's the kicker.
Well, before we get to our fan questions and fact or fiction, I did want to touch on Coop's Cash for Kids and the impact that you have made on so many families and children. It's really almost immeasurable. Going back to fall of 2016, to date, over $800,000 has been raised for pediatric cancer research. Unbelievable. And last year, you announced that you were launching the J5 Foundation to further your and your family's dedication to supporting. Talk to us a little bit about the tournament and how that's grown, and also the J5, because we know it's an important initiative to you.
It is, and we're in negotiations now, and hopefully going to become, be able to put something in a hospital here soon. It's taken some time to figure all this out, but very exciting time. It's near and dear to my heart because this boy named Tony Colton, who I met at the sneaker soiree back in 2014, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. He went and told a story about he got awarded, and he basically went up and told everybody he didn't have cancer anymore. And I was so impressed. He was 13 or 14 years old, how he commanded the room. And then so I made a purpose to meet him afterwards, and he basically said, no, I I lied to everybody because I didn't want the crowd to feel bad for me. And I was like crushed. And so anyway, we became really close, and he was part of the brainchild of because I do a lot of inshore fishing, and so we kind of didn't want to golf tournament, but I was like, I'm part of this community, and this is near and dear to me, especially with Tony. Anyway, we started the fishing tournament, and it's just become a massive success. Not only for what the money we raise, but the players love it. You know who loves it the most are the Russians. Oh, yeah. They can't wait. Vasilevsky says the trophy, because he won it 2 years ago. He won the big prize and this big trophy, and he says that's the one that's on his mantelpiece. It's yeah, true story.
It's amazing.
So it's been a phenomenal initiative, and J5 is for, I'm John, my wife's Jessie, Julia, Josephine, and then our son's Johnny. So it's the 5 J's, and anyway, near and dear to my heart.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. All right, you guys ready? Let's get into it. Before we get into our fact or fiction, let's go with some of our fan questions.
Hold on. How much time we have left here? 10 minutes?
Yeah, whatever. All
right. Well, I'm going to say it's my tab's up there. Last call. Go whatever you want to get on that tab.
This is the time to do it.
They're bored up there. Help. I'm telling you, it's my tab. So whiz up there and get whatever you want.
We'll just keep it open until tomorrow night too.
Pulling all-nighters here at the tap room. All right. This is from Chris. Will we ever hear some uncensored locker room speeches? Maybe on the recharge?
Okay, so I'm part of the problem. I'm not going to lie. I'm not. I think the league is going so invasive of what we do, and I get it, and I do. I want everybody to come and see everything that's going on, but there's just some things that go on that can't be over the air. And it's all about, we're here to win a Stanley Cup, and motivating is motivating. And the way we do it, at times, it's just not for public consumption.
Sure.
But it's actually funny, because a lot of the things you'll see me on, that'll be a second take.
Yeah.
And then I roll in and tell them what I have to really say after that. So it's, I'm a bit of the problem, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm a little old school.
All right. Sticks or Fire crew, Debbie and Joyce, which player video was the most impactful to you, whether that was a returning player, had been in Stamkos styles and games, any video back to 2015? They're all fantastic. Friends on the crew do an amazing job, but anyone that really hit you?
So I think I've welled up in at least 3 of them. I would say, it's hard because I can't, they've all all these players have meant so much to me. I think one of the ones that was really impactful, just because of the highlight package it was McDonough's.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't goals and all, it was just the plays he made. And I'll always remember Mac because when we won the Stanley Cup, the first one, I mean, he was crying like a 1-year-old baby. And it was like a grown man, one of the toughest men I've ever met in my life. And you just see them welling up with emotion for how long he'd been in the league, how long he'd played, where he'd played. I just remember that as an impactful one. And part of it, what made it more impactful, is that his father, it was their dad's trip, and Mac didn't even play. So he was up in the suite when it happened. And then his dad came down and made a point to come to the locker room, and we exchanged a few words of, our care for each other. So that was a big one. But like I said, I mean, Maroons, Gourds, Goudreau's, Killers was Killers a tough one until he went and did 3 laps for the crowd. It's like, hey. And then who went after him? Somebody went after him and almost did the same thing. Whose was after his?
It was
Ross. It was Ross.
Was it Ross Colton?
It might have been Ross. There was a lot of, because they're great guys.
All right.
It was funny.
Laura would like to know, outside of the Stanley Cup wins, what was your most memorable victory in a year or entire career as a hockey coach?
Outside of the Stanley Cup wins, what was your most memorable
victory?
Wow.
In your entire,
That's such a tough one to.
There's so many, I'm sure.
Well, what? Okay. That's a good answer because I'll tell you why. And we've talked about it as a group. Had we lost that game, I don't know if we would have won the Stanley Cup that year. And we might have. I don't want to find out if we lost that game. But as one of the craziest, most, and it's amazing. The only time people saw it was on TV. That nobody was there to experience that. I'll give you a quick story, though, how funny that whole thing was. So it's in Toronto. And games were played, there was 2 or 3 games a day. So we were the 3 o'clock game. And Boston and Carolina are playing the game after us. Now, they have a bunch of suites in the underbelly of Toronto's arena. So that's where all the coaches' rooms were for all the teams. So we'd come off, and you'd see, the Boston coaches would be over there, and the Carolina coaches would be over there, and there'd be players filtering around. So we were kind of all together. And so, the game ends, and all right, whatever. First overtime. Then it was getting the second overtime. Now, guys are getting antsy. Third overtime. And now, where they're coming out, and they're just F-bombing us. Get this game over with. Patrice Bergeron, and they're Coop, let's go. And we're trying. We don't want to stay here either. So it became a running joke every time the team went out, and they're ugh. And so they had an 8 o'clock game, and our game, it started at 3, and I think it ended at 9:30 at night. And so right after, when we went to the 5th overtime and we walked out, they canceled, because the Bruins and Carolina wanted to play their game, and they were so choked, and like I said, the fierce words, they were fun words, but
yeah.
They were choked. They had to wait to play the next day.
All right, Brian and Fran, who is the biggest goofball in your opinion in the locker room? And P.S. They like your hat.
Oh. No, this hat, actually it's a Pat Maroon. So you know Pat Maroon wears these hats. So he's got a guy that's in Dallas.
He's got a guy.
He's got a guy. so now he's my guy. The
biggest goofball. Currently, because we've known some of the past ones, but currently.
That's
Cirelli?
No. I'll say one of the most unpredictable guys that I really enjoy being around is Mikey Isamont.
Okay.
He's you never know what's going to happen with with him. He's a beauty. Goofball though, I don't know who's
Nobody coming to mind?
I don't know if we got the.
Put me on the spot. I thought we were interviewing him.
I don't know if we got the major the goofballs. Hey, did you know Louis Domingue just scored a goal?
He did. We saw that the other day. It was amazing.
An actual goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flung it down and scored. All right, final one.
He was our best chef.
Was he?
He's a good cook.
Oh, it's good to know. Oh, there's another one. Thank you. Listen, Kobe's trained his son well, very well.
No, this is only a 1-hour podcast.
All right. Final question from Mike and Janine. How did you spend your day with the Stanley Cup at the Dog? ?
At the Dog.
The
Are we
Dog
talking
is that
that Dog on Beta Bay?
Been there a couple times. Used to
Yeah.
be the Red Dog. I remember.
So you know what I did? The first time we had the Cup, it was awesome because it wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So we were just kind of coming out of COVID. So, and I ripped that cup around this town you would not believe. Has anybody here been to the Hub?
Yes.
I took the cup to the Hub.
Yes, you did. I saw the pictures from friends, and yeah.
So it was.
Tampa
Now
Stable.
hold on. I went to every firehouse, police station, hospital.
Yeah.
But then you run out. Then you got to take it somewhere else. and so it would be great. So the Stanley Cup had never would have been able to do that with it, but because it had to stay in our town for 30 days or whatever it was until everybody went home and they sent it home with you. So I would just call one of the guys. I'd call Phil,
Keeper of the Cup.
Keeper of the Cup, and I'd be like, "Is it taken tonight?" He's like, nope. I was like, I'll be right there. I would take it up and we'd go have a blast. So
That's awesome.
I've had a good time with that Stanley Cup.
All right, to wrap it up, our Fact or Fiction segment presented by Highlight IPA. These are either true or not true statements. There might be a detail or two that might be off, so pay attention. Here we go. Coop, before our fan base called them the triplets, Cooch, Pally, and TJ were known as the Cooper Troopers. Fact or fiction?
I would sit here and say just those three guys.
Just those three. Were there more?
I would say there's that's fiction.
Okay, so give us who else were the Cooper Troopers.
Well, it would be everybody that played for me.
Oh, so the whole squad.
No, it would be like if there was, junior players, guys that came up, or if there was guys in the league that were like Anders Lee.
Yes.
Played for me in junior, Cooper Trooper.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. You have one, Coach.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned your men's league team back when you were a budgeting law, whatever you want to call it.
Lawyer.
Yeah, sure. I was going to say law superstar, but okay. I didn't know that you were trying to be an agent. I was like, I would have hired a different agent. Yeah. But your men's league team was called the Legal Eagles. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Okay.
It's all the lawyers in town, and they the lawyers, they call themselves the Legal Eagles. Yep.
Okay.
Very true.
Fact or fiction, Coop, in this day and age of Lightning hockey, you consider our biggest rival the Florida Panthers. Fact or fiction? It's a tough one because that can go a couple different ways. But do you feel that they are our biggest rival currently?
We'd have to define what rivalry is.
Okay.
But if you're going to sit here and define the game where stuff's going to go down, it's probably going down with Florida.
Okay. Good answer. Short and sweet. All right. When you go out to eat, Coach Cooper, you actually prefer to order family style as opposed to an individual meal.
Oh, that's fact for sure.
Thank you, Gabe, for that one.
Yeah. Not a huge eater, but I've learned over the years I want a piece of what's on everybody else's plate. So like, screw it.
You're that
I'm
guy.
just going to order what everybody likes.
All right. Fact or fiction? We got two left here. Fact or fiction? Nikita Kucherov is the best player in the National Hockey League.
If I coach a better player than him, I'll be the most blessed coach in the history of the world.
Great answer. And finally, Coach Cooper, fact or fiction? We have the Four Nations Cup coming up and the Olympics are on the horizon. You'd like to be coaching Team Canada for one of them. Fact or fiction?
One of what?
Either the Four Nations Cup potentially or the Olympics in the coming years.
Anytime you have a chance, and Kobe knows this very well, to represent your country in whatever it is, I would be remiss to sit here and say, beg for the chance. There's so many good coaches in the league. I wouldn't blink an eye if somebody else got it. But 2022 was a bit of a stinger when I was offered the opportunity to coach the Olympic team, and then it got pulled from us. So it'd be super cool to get another chance.
Fair enough. Bolts Nation, Coach Cooper.
Who wants a highlight?
He's giving it away. We wish you luck, Coop, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're all going to be screaming our heads off for you, and we're really looking forward to it. And congratulations on all the success thus far. And we look for nothing but continued success moving forward. So thank you for taking the time to be with us, and let's get a win tomorrow. Set it off right.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's give it to our host. The block party's turned into a rock. It's I get so much feedback because, I've got my hands and fingers in all the pies, but you guys do a hell of a job.
Thank you.
And what's amazing here is that we do it live, and I think we wouldn't be here. You talk about the rival, Florida and Tampa. We may be rivals on the ice, but off the ice, there's no comparison. We're the ones that kill it over here.
Yes.
And you guys, we're nothing without you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and keep being Bolts Nation. It's awesome.
Love it.
It's amazing support, really. Like when we first started doing this, Coop, I feel like the tables were further apart.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
like, it doesn't seem like you can get them tight enough, you know?
Yeah.
We were sold out in minutes, so thank you all for that as well.
Don't say it was me because I found
Well,
out
they
they
didn't
didn't
know
even
it
know it was me. So, hey, thanks for trying.
Thank you guys.
I hope it's Cooch.
No, we've heard that. We've tried, guys. I want to put that out there because Kobe had the conversation with Cooch because we all know he's not the most talkative guy, right? We know this. But he told Kobe
Until we win, and he's really talking.
He said, he told Kobe word for word.
Promised.
He said, when we win Cup, I come on show. So let's win the damn thing and let's get Cooch on. But Coop, thank you so much for joining us, Bolts Nation. Give yourselves a round of applause. You've been amazing all season long. And we thank our friends at Highlight IPA once again for powering the whole dang thing. And you guys have a great night. God bless. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night.